Hi, everyone. I am back from my hiatus because Hillary Clinton made me mad enough to go on a rant, I guess. I'll wait for like 1 or 2 more minutes before I start with my angry rant. Oh my God, I hate her so much. I don't know why, but she like manages to trigger everything. Like every time it could be my inbuilt sexism. I really don't know, but she really manages to trigger everything like I have. Like I just can't not get angry when I see her, like with her presence. It's like it's probably the most triggering thing for me is to see is Hillary Clinton's presence, and I still don't know. Like, is she extraordinarily evil? No, I mean, like she's no different than everyone else, but somehow she triggers me more. Why? I don't know. Any theories? If you have any theories, post below in the comments if you're not watching this live. And be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll wait for a second for you guys to like and subscribe. And what else? Ay, caramba, Dios mío. Okay. So whenever you can, Janet, can you play her annoying clip from Maddow? Oops. Esha joined. Are we on? Because I don't see ourselves on. Oh, we are on. Okay, let's play the clip. I can't hear the clip, but it's
But remember, the Russians invaded Afghanistan back in 1980. And although no country went in, they certainly had a lot of countries supplying arms and advice and even some advisors to those who were recruited to fight Russia. It didn't end well for the Russians. There were other unintended consequences.
No, it was intended.
But the fact is that a very motivated and then funded and armed insurgency basically drove the Russians out of Afghanistan. Obviously, the similarities are not ones that you should bank on because the terrain, the development in urban areas, et cetera, is so different. But I think that is the model that people are now looking toward. And if there can be sufficient armaments that get in, and they should be able to get in along some of the borders between other nations and Ukraine, and keep the Ukrainian, both their military and their citizen volunteer soldiers supplied. That can continue to stymie Russia. Now, let's be clear that Russia has overwhelming military force. But of course, they did in Afghanistan as well.
No, they didn't.
They also brought a lot of air power to Syria. It took years to finally defeat Syria in terms of the insurgencies, the democratic forces, as well as others who battled the Russians, the Syrians, and the Iranians. So if you're fighting for your homeland, you're fighting for your family, you're fighting for your ideals, that's far more powerful than sending in these poor young Russian soldiers who didn't even know where they were going until they crossed the border and people were screaming at them and they realized they were in Ukraine. So I think we have to watch this carefully. We have to provide sufficient military armaments for the Ukraine military and volunteers. And we have to keep tightening the screws.
Is that the end of her rant? I hope so. Oh my God. She sounds like a psychopath. Yes, somebody said she sounds like, okay. So let's start with Afghanistan. Is that the end of her rant? I can't hear you, Janet. And it's driving me nuts. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so let's start with Afghanistan. She called it an unintended consequence. So I'm going to read this from a State Department cable to show you that every single thing that happened after 1989 was intended, planned, and everything went to plan. This just makes me so mad. So this is what the State Department said, the United States State Department under Brzezinski. Growing opposition to the Kalki regime. Kalki government is the democratic government in Afghanistan. A regime of President Nur Muhammad Taraki and Prime Minister Hafizullah Amin is posed by many disparate elements who are motivated by differing grievances. Fears regarding the repression of Islam and resentment of what they see, as a sellout to Moscow of Afghanistan's national soul are the primary ingredients fueling the various opposition groups struggling for a drastic change in this revolutionary regime. Short of some demands for such drastic change, the Tarakiamin leadership has little maneuvering room and few options which would present viable chances of reversing the current trend of heightened counterinsurgency operations. Therefore, are probably on the larger horizon with the larger Soviet effort to save the Afghanistan revolution itself, if not this particular leadership. Despite its success so far, the opposition remains fragmented and essentially without leadership. Formidable obstacles confront the insurgents in their effort to overthrow a determined, ruthless, well-armed regime. By that, they mean the democratic government. Ruthless. The opposition's goals remain unarticulated and vague, and a victory... Okay, this is where I can prove it to you that this was an intended consequences. A victory by the opposition, which is by no means assured, could have a mixed blessing for United States humanitarian, political, developmental, and political interest in this region, in this country and region. The fall of a radical leftist and Soviet-backed regime could have positive repercussions for the United States throughout the third world. As in, we want to show Afghanistan as an example for you third worlders who don't want to be slaves anymore and who don't want your children to be mining for cobalt anymore. This is an example for you third worlders who don't know your place, is what they're saying. By demonstrating that our adversaries' views of the inevitable course of history is not necessarily accurate. That's exactly what they're saying. Know your place, you third worlders. You and your children need to be like digging for our cobalt as slaves. We first worlders, so that we first worlders can have a nice life. Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying there. Example. So they were saying like Afghanistan was like actually like showing the third world that hey, we too can have a better life. Not if the US. Okay. Likewise, despite the paucity of specific information, an opposition led regime might well be much more amenable to the return of the US in the presence of the developmental field in this country. Conversely, intended consequences here. Let me read this sentence carefully and you'll know that this was intended because this memo was written in 1979. They knew it. Conversely, a regime based essentially on the fundamentalist tenet of Islam would probably not place the highest priority on social and economic reform. The manifesto of the Islamic Party of Afghanistan calls for a reimposition of purdah. A purdah means sheets, literally. Like parde, we say for a mosquito net, we often call it like sarle parde. So purdah literally means sheets. And the subjugation of women to a life of seclusion, and probably inevitable widespread vendettas aimed at Kalki. It was, as in like the democratic government, would have a negative human right implication, no matter how justified the retribution against some Kalki officials might appear to be. Okay, so intended. Okay, hold on. It gets even worse. On balance, however, given our larger interests, and given the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan's extremely close ties to Moscow would probably be served by the demise of the Taraki and Amin regime. End of summary. Now this gets even okay. So now I'm going to read the whole memo to you because this is like such an intended consequence. It was not unintended. Like this is what they aimed for. They aimed for the total and utter destruction of Afghanistan because they were exactly what Cuba was, a threat of a good example. And they did it on purpose and they knew what they were doing. Okay. Since the establishment of the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan 16 months ago, the leadership and rank and file of the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, the key political element in the country, who's have been trying to drastically alter Afghanistan's traditional political and social relationship. Okay, this part is so important. Listen to this carefully. I will read it slowly. And if you can put it on screen, if do it, but if not, don't worry about it. Given Afghanistan's poverty and backwardness, this revolutionary regime's goals would probably in themselves deserve genuine support from most quarters interested in bettering the lot of the Afghan people. Let me read this again. Given Afghanistan's poverty and backwardness, this revolutionary regime's goals would probably in themselves deserve genuine support from most quarters interested in bettering the lot of the Afghan people. So what they are saying is that what the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan is doing is necessary to improve the lives of Afghanistan. And the Soviets who are supporting them are also basically doing what's best for the people of Afghanistan. They admitted this. Okay. But the US is not going to support this because well, what? It's not. Okay, now look at this one. Okay. A coordinated since a number of disparate elements are struggling for various reasons for a drastic change in this regime. Rebel groups that actually engage in combat against the Afghan army appear to draw their manpower from the villages and the tribes, which constitute anywhere from 80 to 90% of the Afghanistan population. And then it says that these segments of the population, generally illiterate segments, are traditional foes of the central government, although many are apolitical. But the majority of the forces for the Afghan government is from the rural poor. Like it says, the rural also serves as the government's manpower pool for its military enlisted ranks, as in like illiterate people who wanted to read. Apparently wanted to. It was definitely the Democratic. And has not yet completely stymied the regime's ability to meet its need for unskilled troops, as in people are volunteering to join this because they want to better their lives. I mean, they actually built, I have put enough videos on TikTok of like how they did land redistribution. They did schools. It can make anyone cry their eyes out when you see what they did. Okay, so let's see. Okay, two fundamental grievances the opposition has is made of godless communists and also threatening their traditional position in society. By contrast, the regime's principal programs, reducing illiteracy, land reform, and elimination of traditional bride price and banning of usury, has provoked some scattered opposition, but these programs, like, actually, I mean, were apparently very popular with the normal population. It seems that deeply felt emotions are necessary because even Afghans to take up modern weapons wielded by a government and in fact do prevent. So basically what they then said that is that so let's see. Okay, the opposition has its own problems. It has yet to capture anything more than a town because they were not very popular. And okay, this part is very thing. An opposition victory would have mixed blessings for U.S. interests, but on balance would be favorable. Despite, like, a few paragraphs ago, she's saying that anyone genuinely interested in bettering the life for Afghan people would support this government's reform. They're saying that it would be better for the U.S. interests to have this government fall. And okay, and they're also saying that okay. Yeah, so I don't know what more to say. So anyways, what happened is that they then amped up funding like so much. Like they dumped billions of weapons, like anything known to man, they dumped there in Afghanistan. So then when the Soviets left, do you think all these crazy rebels and warlords decided to live happily ever after? No, they started a civil war among themselves as like a turf war for their own, to get the biggest piece of their pie in Afghanistan. And that civil war lasted 4 years until the Taliban came. So it's that's literally what's going to happen if you let the if you let Hillary Clinton's if you understand what the U.S. is planning. Because a few days ago, I saw a document from January 2022 saying that the CIA is planning on having like some sort of paramilitary insurgents in Ukraine. And yeah, and this is why it makes me so mad, because they know, I mean, these are not unintended consequences. These are intended, planned, and they benefited exactly who it was meant to benefit. So it's just disgusting how brazen everyone is. Like, one careful reading, like, to me, that just pisses me off with the Afghanistan situation, because really, she, like, this U.S. State Department was making Afghanistan into an example. They like what you see now is an example in order to not oppose U.S. and like have U.S. companies continue to mine for your resources and have your child be slaves and for your Mika and not go to school and blah. And yeah, that is literally the plan and the intention. I mean, because that's what they like. Basically, third world countries are third world countries because first world countries come and suck up all their raw material and then flood their markets with manufactured crap and then bomb their factories so that they can't make their own manufactured crap, and that's how they stay third world forever. So I don't know what else to say besides what a psycho. Oh yeah, okay, okay. Now that I got my anger at Hillary Clinton out of the way, let me just quickly give you a summary. Ukraine's government has not been democratic. It's a joke if anyone calls it democratic. See my thread. Basically, the NED and the USAID. Okay, so the State Department and NED and all the other deplorable agencies created the Maidan coup. So, and that installed Petro Poroshenko. And then he had like some fake election that where there was a lot of even Jen Psaki admitted that there were a lot of places where they successfully interfered with the voting and whatnot. And so he got in there. And then he said, oh, let me make a constitutional commission of like 70 people. 59 random, like 59 Ukrainians I choose, and then 13 foreigners. One of the foreigners was from the United States Agency for International Development. So the US aid literally had a hand in, or wait, but that's not all. And then there was on top of it, the U.S. U.S. Agency for International USAID had a program called the Rada, where they drafted. Rada is Ukraine's parliament, and the Rada, like the U.S. agency funded NGO called Rada, actually drafted legislation and lobbied for bills and like bribed Congress with people, deputies and stuff like that. No. But then but that's not all. There's more. Then there just Google Reanimation Reform package. Janet, if you can I'll send you the URL, and it's comical. Let me just, if you can bring this up on screen. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, here you go. I texted it to you, so here you go. It's comical. Tell me when it's. Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, please donate via super chat. Um, yeah, because no one's donated via super chat yet, and I need some money. Oh, thank you, Dimitri. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, what a sweet Dimitri. Okay. Now, do you see these organized? Okay. So this is the reanimation package. Is like I guess some sort of restarting Ukraine package, and then so look at who's in this. Or was in this, or whatever. Like when you click on each of these, what you'll realize is that each of these is also funded by the USAID and NED. Okay, hold on. Now stay within this page and go to our about her. Let me send it to Janet. Our donors. Okay, so this is an umbrella organization. Let's look at their donors. Um, okay. Janet, I'm waiting to just put the umbrella organization's donors in. No. Okay, it's the same thing. Okay. What you notice is the number one donor is USAID. The Omidar networks. What else? NATO and National Democratic Institute, which then when you click on that and look at who their donors is, it's the NED. So, okay, so basically, what they did was they had, I guess, puppets of the U.S. government creating NGOs for other puppets of the U.S. government, who then drafted the Constitution, and of course, Poroshenko it was not there was going to be no referendum on the Constitution, and you got. So then, let's not forget. So in I think in July of 2015, the day that the Rada members were supposed to approve the Constitution by 2/3, Victoria Nuland went and like prodded everyone and lobbied in the Rada, saying, hey, vote. She was the assistant deputy secretary to the Department of State. Okay, so that was like a total joke. I bet you like they got rid of like too many ambulances or whatever ridiculousness they did. And on top of that, they've been also just they've been just like funding the military and militias. So if you're military and all your militias, like it's a joke to call Ukraine a sovereign country. But that's not the only issue. So you then have to remember why they started the Maidan. Viktor Yanukovych was the president, and he was from the Donetsk region, I believe. Donetsk, or whatever that region is. But Ukraine had a previous IMF loan gotten by Viktor Yushchenko, whose wife worked for Ronald Reagan in the State Department and whatever. And he got there through the Orange Revolution, which is a coup, which fell apart really, really quickly. And so then Ukraine was going to default on the IMF loan. And so then there was the European Union offered this package, and Russia then offered a counter package. The European Union package had the usual things like privatize everything, the Monsanto clauses, and let us just like industrialize everything. You have to like, you can't give gas subsidies, blah, blah, blah. The Russians actually offered to did the Russian package, like any sane person who want, like, it's clear, like the Russians were like, okay, we're gonna help you build this airplane factory, and then we're gonna build this bridge between Ukraine and Russia, and the Kerch on the Kerch Strait, which is in Crimea. So, and then we can share custody of the bridge, and then like what else? Oh yeah, they didn't have the structural adjustment packages, like the austerity, the privatization, sell your water, privatize the water, allow fracking everywhere, like that none of that, unlike the European Union package. So then these random protesters, for some odd reason, came to protest the Russian package, which is clearly better in terms of mathematical in mathematical terms. For the, like, if you care about the people of Ukraine, if you're a person in Ukraine, my guess is you don't want your water fracked, you don't want your infrastructure, whatever happened, like you don't, and you kind of want your minimum wage to like be livable, and you don't want to like be the raw material extractor for the European Union. All of it would make sense. And then lose your currency sovereignty, and then have what do you call it? The arbitration clauses like the WTO, and agree to the GATT clauses. There are a whole bunch of horrific stuff, like the plant seed patents that, and then they had to like deregulate the land buying, and then just Monsanto probably like went in and bought everything. So it's like there's no reason, no rational Ukrainian would be protesting against the Russian package for the European Union package, unless you were totally nuts and you were racist and you wanted something about Western civilization, blah blah blah, you know. Anyways, so for some odd reason, so but I mean, things were on course, and these protesters weren't that much. There were like 500 of them, or 600. Like there were not enough to really not, like the government totally ignored them. Like, literally, it was nothing like that they couldn't ignore. But then one day, from Hotel Ukraine in Maidan Square, these snipers just went boom, 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 and just killed like a lot of random people. And they tried to blame the police of Ukraine. And then Obama said that then these neo-Nazi militias started coming. One of them from like Georgia, where they had the last color revolution, and then like they were like just doing straight up Contra like violence. And that's when Viktor Yanukovych apparently negotiated an exit with Obama. So he's like, okay, you don't go in the way of Allende if you kind of have this nice retirement package. And he left. And then came Petro Poroshenko, who was a billionaire. I think he made candy, but I could be wrong. Some kind of billionaire. Viktor Yanukovych was actually a former mine worker. And yeah, and then their government's been hijacked for fracking and oil business, and it's just been terrible and getting worse and worse. So, yeah, I don't. Okay, the one thing is there is some things there's a lot I don't understand as in why did Russia pull the trigger now and not 8 years ago or 6 years ago? Like, what's special about now? Like, that's something I really need to understand, and I don't understand that. Anything else? Don't believe anything else in the news until because everything's a lie. Of course, like I just assume everything about Russia is a lie until I see them not being a lie. Somebody, can we buy you a teleprompter? Yes, please buy me a teleprompter. I would love for it. Like, I don't know how to get it, but I don't. But you can. But I don't script myself. I read. I'm not scripted, so how can I? What can I do with a teleprompter when I'm impromptu? Okay. Why are you on hiatus? Well, we want to figure out the best way to continue with late nights with Lenin. And I feel like we're not making a lot of like sense to people who are not used to theory. So we're just going to take a few weeks to kind of make it a better show. Try to figure out what to do. Yeah, she kind of let it slip that the U.S. funded ISIS again. Yes, oopsie doopsie. Yeah, Hillary Clinton did do that. Anything else? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Janet. Let me send you this video. About here's like BBC getting caught doing fake news. So let me send this video if you can. Here, let's watch this video I made. I know you'll get it for in a minute. Okay, in the meanwhile, let me rant. Yeah. Really, like, oh, okay, Waleed. Let's rant about Waleed. Okay, what's his name? Where his tweet is like so stupid. He used to work for AOC. Where does his tweet go? Okay, let's watch this first. BBC is claiming that this is Ukraine taking control of Kharkiv after a Russian attack. This is pure misinformation. Here is the man who took the video in the first place.
BBC мою картинку с Киевского района выдают, как будто это в Харькове мы попали в здание. Вот. Это мои кадры, сейчас покажу. Вот они, мои кадры. Прямое попадание калибром 152 миллиметра. Это адрес Миронова 5, Киевский проспект. В общем, побито более 10 домов. Но этот пострадал больше всего. Просто по... Вот он, четкие мои кадры.
Так ты у нас и для BBC работаешь.
Ну да, и, видимо, в Харькове. На полставки.
Yeah, so BBC was caught lying. I'm sure not like okay, this is like I caught them super red-handed lying. And then let's talk about Waleed Shahid. He worked for AOC. Yeah, he's like, what did he say? Hold on, let me remember. Almost all leftist defenses of Russia are ultra-fringe and have zero connection to actual progressive political organizing in Washington and aren't very leftist at all. What are you talking about? Like, what kind of leftist supports like outright not? Oh, by the way, the Nazis like from the UPA were so horrific that German Nazis kind of found them to be a little crazy and a little too much. So what kind of this is the kind of like unthinking nonsense. So he worked for AOC and Jamal Bowman, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, we are fracked. We are fracked. So my opinion is a lot like Brian Berleck's opinion, is that this war didn't start yesterday. Russia didn't start it. It started in 2014. And if you like read through any of these Western medias, they piecemeal admit to everything that Russia has said. They've been killing Russians. They've been committing genocide. There's a video, they filmed themselves killing Roma people in the most sadistic fashion. You can Google it, or you can find that video. It's not that hard. I'm not going to show it, but they did. The Azov, they've engaged in 4 or 5 of those, like, in the most sadistic fashion. They've killed Romani people. There's also many articles, even from the Western media, about Jews of Ukraine being all scattered and leaving Ukraine. A lot of them went to Russia, some went to Israel for obvious reasons. But the president's Jewish. Oh, right. Obama was black, and then racism just disappeared, and there were no hate crimes, right? Yeah. And then, like, all the white supremacist groups just vaporized the minute Obama took office. Now, that's not what happened, and that's the same thing that didn't happen when Zelensky took office. So, yeah, that's like the stupidest defense I've ever heard. So no, that's not how things work. Let's see, what else? Yeah, the Azov regiment was incorporated into the National Guard. They're not the worst. There's a white sector. Oh, also, a lot of the American neo-Nazis are getting trained in Ukraine. So it's kind of, oh, actually, all the neo-Nazis of the world, like all of them, are getting trained in Ukraine. I kid you not. It's kind of funny that some of these Ukrainian people, not people, whatever, militants went to Hong Kong, and then wherever, I think some went to Bolivia for a little while, wherever the US wanted to go. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. What I really hope that all air, ground, and land and sea spaces have been closed so that the US can't get their crappy weapons in anymore. Like, they don't need, no one needs weapons. And I don't know what else to say besides like, I just am overwhelmed by the amount of lies, and just pretend everything, like, really, you just need to do the opposite for a while. Just pretend everything is a lie until you can verify it, because it is like a avalanche of lies. Oof. Like, you can, like, debunk one lie. Like, I can debunk one lie, like that I did with the BBC's stupid lie about Kiev versus Kharkov. But it's hard to debunk a whole avalanche of lies. And what do you do? If you have any ideas, let us know in the comments. With that, I say Smirti fascismu slabodu narodu. Bye-bye.